your deep dive this week. We've got a couple of topics. I guess the first one, I think for experienced players, they will well and truly understand this. But for some of your newer guys that maybe, like take my position, for example, I scored 800 last week. If I was new to the game, I'd go, fuck, I've fallen behind in points. I'm 40,000 ranks behind Tim. I'm actually 180 points behind you. Don't panic.
It can be flipped in one gun, captain. Look, it's something that I've gone on about with SC Playbook for a long time, and it's playing the long game, not the short game. And you say for experienced super coaches, they're probably around it. They're not. Like, lots and lots of people out there aren't. The temptation, it's essentially, do you chase money this week in the next 2 to 3 weeks, or do you chase points? And to use a good example of that is, do you chase Tohu Harris, who is probably going to go up a little bit in value, probably going to continue to score really well, looks a terrific buy, but not much more value change? Or do you go someone like, say, Eli Katoa or Wade Egan, who, across the course of the season, who's going to score more points out of those guys? Probably Tohu Harris, but you need to build your bank. So I immediately just go to, all right, Tohu, once someone like Stefano Udakamanu fattens up, makes his cash in 3 weeks, I'll look to bring in someone like Tapani or Tohu Harris. But this week, we haven't had any price changes. We've had a free look at players. You've got to be going for that cash. So that's where someone like Wade Egan will come in. He'll make you quick cash. If you don't own Harry Grant, he can become Harry Grant for you for, say, 50 to 100K in 2 to 3 weeks. Whereas Tohu Harris, sweet, who might go out there and continue to pump out 75 to 80 for you, and he might make 50K. But in terms of your squad value, it stays around about the same. So play the long game, build your bank. It's my philosophy that I've had every year I've played Supercoach. I said from the start that I always start slow because I start with quite a well-rounded 25-man squad of blokes who will generate me cash. People start with a strong 17 and a weak bench. They start fast, I start slow. It's something that I believe in quite strongly, play that long game. And people will start fast with one Tohu Harris this week. We're going to get to round 20 and you're going to have 3 Tohu Harrises. Exactly right. And that's the person who buys Tohu Harris this week, and maybe I buy someone like Eli Katoa or Wade Egan, they might outscore me. Sweet. I'm not worried for that exact reason. Yep, exactly right. Long game always. Now, speaking of the cheapies that we need to target, you've got a top 5 cheapies that are sub 350K for us. If you don't have these guys, I would advise getting them in. Who have you got? Really hard. This was difficult. Jermaine Hopgood is obviously the number one at 298K with a negative 139 break even. Now, that sounds too obvious, but 68% of coaches own him, 32% don't, which is mind-blowing. Darusi was on last night with his data analysis. I think the stat was in the top 20,000 teams, 98% own Hopgood. So that shows where the ownership stats on side are skewed, doesn't it? Yeah, wow. But regardless, if you're in the 32% listening right now and you don't own him, obviously get him in. Make it move. You have to do it. Don't think it twice. Our boy, I should say your boy, actually. I shouldn't claim him. My boy's Hopgood. Your one's Jacob Preston. Tell us about him. Jacob Preston, 200K, negative 51 break even. We spoke about him before, mate. He's playing 80 minutes on the edge. I think sometimes you've just got to back the eye test, the word out of the camp. They loved him all pre-season. They said he was set for big things, and in his first starting appearance, he was the first try scorer against the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne and looked likely at all times. So I've got him at number 2 on my list, and obviously I own a few of these guys already, but I can see why you might have more pressing trades. People will be happy with their 2RF, so they might not be able to get in Jacob Preston, but I've got him pretty high up. 2 things on Jacob Preston. 1, he's overrated. 2, we've got a shocking eye, so just avoid him. Exactly right. Yeah, got plenty wrong before. So stay away from him. Yeah. Here I am with KP. Fucking idiot. Okay, number 3 on your list. Katoa of the Isaiah variety. Jeez, it's all our boys here, just quietly. It is all our boys, until the next one, but we'll get to him in a minute. Yeah. It's a big fall off the cliff there. But Isaiah Katoa, mate, he's made good money. I think he looks 2 wins on the board. I think he's probably safe as houses still, round 10 or so. Exactly, and I was really nervous about Isaiah Katoa going into round 1 just because I was obviously critical of the Dolphins, as we know. The job security-wise, I was like, all right, is this an early kick up the arse from Milford saying, mate, you'll be back around 2 or 3, but I'm willing to drop you from Wayne Bennett. Katoa's come in, settled in like a house on fire. Dolphins have looked terrific. He's about to make good cash. His dual half at 5'8", his cheap as chips. I just think like he's scratching the surface for what he can do, and I think he's a very, very safe buy this week.
Question: Houses on fire, do they often fit in?
Do houses on fire fit in?
Settled in like a house on fire. I love that one.
Oh, mate, you know that my calls are there not to be questioned because 90% of the time they don't make sense.
Speaking of not making sense, don't buy Hammer. He's a fucking trap. Don't buy him. He's going to score 7. He's going to score 8. He's got a break even of negative 60 this week, 330k. I'm going to come across like a stubborn prick here. I don't think he's a bad buy. I think you'll make money. Had 19 runs in the first week. Had 14 in the next week. He scored 2 tries because he's fast. Haven't really seen the ball playing or anything. I think it's a good money maker now, and I can understand it. But in 6 weeks' time, if the shitter scores start to come, just be prepared.
Yeah. So the disclaimer with Hammer is that he's got the negative 60 break even. Yep. He's set to make some really good cash, and that is why he's on this list. He goes down and plays the Knights this week, who are decimated. Like, if you buy him, you don't even necessarily have to play him in your 17s. In fact, maybe this week is right, but I wouldn't even encourage you to play him in your 17. It's a money-making, get-rich-quick scheme, I suppose you'd call it. So I am tossing up Hammer possibly, but I'm on the fence, and I'm with you, mate. He still could come out and get 7 and 10. But with a neg 60 break-even, what if he does come out and get to 80 or 90 again? He could make a ton of cash. And with the side the Knights running out this week, they'll be wounded after last weekend's game. They've got a quick turnaround from Sunday afternoon. He only needs one half-decent score, and there's some serious cash coming in. So I think he's a safe buy. He's a long way from being a safe play.
For sure. And I don't really back off any of my takes on Hammer from the preseason, but there is money to be made there. You've got the trades now to be able to get him in, make that money, then fuck him off.
Dual fullback centre, so...
Yeah, for sure. Stefano, mate, one of the luckiest meat pies of all time. It was almost a triple movement. We'll take it, though. 319k at the moment. Very good break even. I've started with him and Walsh, which is one of the few things I have done well. Very happy with how that's played out.
Yeah, negative, what is it? A negative 24 break even, but he's got the all-important, the 78 from thank God for that try. Not thank God for it, like he was still going well, but there's money incoming for Stefano. And the best thing about him, another thing I was a little bit nervous on going into round one was starting with Cotter in my second front row. My playing front row was Stefano, and I went, need him to score all right, otherwise with a light front row forward bench, could be at risk. He's done a job for me early on, so very, very happy, and I think he remains a good buy at 319k. Money incoming, looks pretty safe to me. And then the only other one I had bracketed, and we've spoken about him already, is Bryce Carter at 234k, neg 49 break even. I suppose he's not that high up on my list because, as I said, I don't have any issues with my 2RF.
Yep.
But as a buy, he looks pretty foolproof.
Yep, for sure. I think that also Stefano and Preston are classic examples about what we spoke about last week, that the round one score is the least important score of the entire season. They've now come out round two, scored tries. That's going to be in their rolling average for 2 weeks, which is fantastic. Guys that go well this week, absolute fucking gold to have there for 3 weeks. Huge. Now, mate, you got a bit of a stat deep dive on a couple of notable guys, and these guys are in plenty of conversations this week. There's one that I am very, very interested in, which we'll get to him soon, but Egan Butcher, 482k, 42 break even. I'm thinking I will sell him this week. I don't know if you're going to talk me out of it or not. What do you reckon?
I'm not going to talk you out of it, but if you've got fires to put out, he's not an urgent trade. It's really polarising me, Egan Butcher. First things first, I just don't think he's an edge. I think we looked at his Supercoach stats from last season as a middle where he just worked his ass off and got through big numbers. He's been caught out on the edge defensively a few times because they've got a few middles coming back now, the Roosters, but they're just light on edges. So I begin to think he's just being played out of position. In round one, he scored 36 points. He had 10 minutes in the sin bin in that time. Everything that could go wrong for the Roosters, and Wade Egan did that game. He had negative 16 in minus points, penalties, errors, sin bin, all sorts of stuff. So the score's probably not as bad as it looked. Round two, again, not terrific for him. He came out 44 points. But again, it was not a lot went right for them. They had a lot of injuries, the Roosters. The stat that did alarm me when I was doing the dive into him was he's had 17 runs in 2 games, which for a big minute back rower isn't the best, but there's a lot worse out there, as we know. 10 of the runs he had were under 8 metres for 1 point, which is pretty substantial. Like when you see the better back rowers, 9 out of their 10 runs will be over 8 metres for 2 points. We're getting double points for it.
Yep.
So I thought that was a tough one. Egan Butcher will be moving on for me this week. It doesn't help that the Roosters have the bye next week as well. But if you need to hold him this week and you want to trade him later on, another look at him, I think that's fine.
I don't think you're going to lose money on Egan, but you want to be making money there.
Exactly right.
Yep.
And he's another one where, look, if he does find his form, the Roosters start to click, he jags the odd try, we can get him back in 3 to 4 weeks' time or 5 weeks, whenever that might be. But at the moment, it's just not happening for us.
I'm pretty confident that at some point he makes you 100, 150K. But for the amount of time you're going to have to wait and for the amount of money that, a Cardi, a Preston, these sort of guys are going to make, just make the move now.
Yeah, I overestimated his ability to move to an edge. I'd seen all of him as a middle, essentially, the odd glimpse on the edge, and I think he's more of an out-and-out middle.
Yeah, I think it'll come along as a middle, but we don't have time to wait for it.
Yeah.
And we've got too many other, better options around. Will Warbrick. I watched him very closely on the weekend. I've got my own takes on Will Warbrick that I'll mention in a second, but what have you got, mate?
Just a really interesting one that I found. So, started the season with a 33-point average. He had 5 tackle breaks against the Dogs on the weekend, had none against Parramatta. He hasn't recorded a single attacking stat this season. Try assist, line break, line assist, week 1, no tackle breaks. He's had no offloads. So, I'm just thinking, we need the Storm to come good for starters, but he hasn't done a thing, which from a Supercoach perspective makes me go, sweet, surely he can only get better.
Yeah, my argument with Warbrick, and from what I've seen of him this season that I've been watching, that right edge, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
They are all over the place. The ball hasn't got to him in the red zone.
Playing short to Ellie a lot.
All the time. The ball has not got to him at all. And he's got attacking upside. Played 14 games a cup last year, scored 10 tries, had 14 line breaks. He's got ability. We saw it in the trials. The ball hasn't got to him. Remus isn't letting go of the fucking thing, and Hughesy isn't getting it out there.
Yeah.
Hughesy's coming off that right foot or going to Ellie Katoa every single time. I think he's got the base stats to be very good, and I think he will be okay. And tries will come. At some point, he's going to get kicks to him. It's going to come to him eventually. But I won't be playing him this week. I don't think I'll be playing him anytime soon, to be honest. I love the Titans matchup this week, but he's not getting ball.
Yeah, and originally I thought when Munster was out, sweet, he's on Hughes' edge.
Yep.
They'll get more ball there. Great for him, happy days. But you're right, it's just steps off that right all day, doesn't he, Hughes? Or plays short. When Munster is into to the left winger at the Storm, we know Munster loves that float ball over the top. So, yeah, he's an absolute happy hold for him. He's bottom dollar, scoring okay, scratching the surface, but just becomes a very reluctant play in 17s.
Yep, I completely agree. I had him as an anytime try scorer with Jacob Preston and Multi on the weekend. It was one of the more frustrating things I've ever fucking watched. He just wasn't getting the footy in good ball. It's crazy. Now, next one. I'm trading him in this week. Unless you can convince me here, I think there's money to be made here, and I think he could be a genuine gun. Kiraz, 567k is not cheap. I'm going to watch your boner hit you in the chin, but Isaac Tungo to Kiraz for me this week. I'm wearing it.
It took 2 weeks for you to listen
Where's
to me.
the fin? Give me the fin.
2 weeks and 1 sub 850 score, and he listens to me. It's another proud moment.
Enjoy it.
I'll give you one thing, mate.
I almost didn't do it out of spite. And I thought, don't be an idiot.
Hey, Guru, the sign of a good super coacher is the ability to swallow their pride and take any bias out of it, take any ego out of it. You have to be as neutral as you can to the trades each week, and I commend you for making the move. I just wish you would have listened to me 2 weeks
Mate, from
ago.
one of the great swallowers of all time, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Jacob Kiraz. Not coming into my team, but for no major reason. Stat-wise, get a load of this. Last week, 2 tries, 13 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, 2 line breaks, 1 line assist, 24 runs, 148 Supercoach points. on the Bulldogs' seemingly less dominant edge. He is just an absolute goer. Negative 36 break even, averaging a tick under a ton, 567k, bunch of money incoming. No knock on him.
Yeah, I posted a thing about Kiraz last night, and I spoke to him briefly. I don't think it's a one-off thing. He's made this part of his game now to take himself to that next level, to try and do as much work as he possibly can, which I love to hear. So I am going to go him.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
No, you go.
My concern, I suppose, in terms of not bringing him in this week is doggies were great, and man, how an opinion can change quickly. And we had so much hype for them up into round one. They shut the bed round one, and then we've said, oh, God, maybe this should take a lot longer than we think. Round two, they pumped Melbourne up. No, they're going to be mad again. Hard to get a gauge on. For that reason alone, I'm like, oh, was it a one-off week? Is it still going to take time? Or Melbourne just not up for it? They had their injuries, perhaps. I don't think so. I think the doggies just blew them off the park. If we do look at Kiraz, there was a bit of word maybe he was playing a little bit underdone back end of last year, but he did the finish last year with scores of, from round 21 onwards, 41, 24, 31, 28, 27. Outside of that, there was a 53, 54, 33, 30, 29. So I'm just thinking at this point of the season where there are so many good buys this week at sort of 570k, sure, we saw the doggies right edge be quite dominant in this game, but I still just think with Flano out there and then we go over to the left edge, they're going to start getting the brunt of good ball. But on what we've seen, I don't knock the buy. That's just the reasons why I'm going against him.
Yeah, no, completely fair. I also like Tigers this week, Warriors next week.
Oh, yeah.
Good little run there. So I'm going to back him in. I also thought during the World Cup he was very impressive and did a little bit of work with the Lebanon social media team. And the one thing the guy kept saying to me was he's the main voice in the camp. Okay. He is the main guy doing it. He played fullback, obviously, but he reckons that he just matured to another level. So
yeah, and I'm very... It won't be like a... eat your words. In 2 weeks' time, he could be 700k just going, oh, how do I get this bloke in? I can see it happening. Yeah. So,
yep.
It is what it is.
Eli Katoa, your boy, we've sort of already touched on him a little bit, but what do you got stats-wise?
Eli Katoa. Yeah, so we spoke about him last week, about how he got his 54 points in... 54 points it was, without a single attacking stat. This week, mate, the attacking stats came 92 points, 3 line breaks, 3 offloads, 6 tackle breaks, a try contribution. And he had that disallowed try where I'm pretty sure he cut straight through. Yep. Would have been a line break try. In one sense, it goes against the whole. You actually mentioned, I think, week 1 that was a one-off for a new club where he got his work rate up. Work rate was obviously, work rate was down a little bit this week with all his attacking stats, but we saw the upside. So, I can't wait to own Ellie.
Yeah, no, and you know what we mentioned on Bloke on Monday, but there was a play that he got 2 line breaks, 2 plays in a row. That's the little extra effort areas that we haven't seen from Ellie over the years. So I love to see that. Mate, your last one is Ben Murdoch-Masila. This has played out exactly as I anticipated it to play out. I'm sure you'll mention it. Had a line break on the weekend for 37 in 72 minutes.
Yeah, that was it. 72 minutes, 37 points of line break in there. So he had 7 runs in that time.
They won by 20.
He had 11 tackles. How? How do you do that?
Yours?
Yeah, so the point was anyone who's like cheap, Dragons look good minutes, like probably an avoid the whole time, but if there's ever been a way to eat, this is it.
72 minutes in a big win for the Dragons, outside Ben Hunt, inside Zach Lomax. Yeah. Line break, 37.
Jack DeBellin to come back.
Yeah, no thanks. No. Hardest of passes on that one.